Hello everyone, I'm Shadow the Hedgehog, and today we're playing more of the Stanley Parable.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Here, so
where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled.
That's a good
Anywhere
question.
they went together would be perfectly fine with him. Stanley
I have to remember which routes I've done this far, because
and entered the door.
I don't remember exactly what I've done recently with the
this
bucket.
was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket.
I think the best way to start off really is just entirely ignoring the narrator and doing what I want.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Maybe you're
took
wrong.
The door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No, I'm going this way.
No,
said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
You know what?
Did
I'm not listening to the bucket
why or
either.
How this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious
I'm going down
fact.
here.
He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
No, I didn't. In fact, I'm going where the bucket doesn't want me to go.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket?
Of course I know what's a bucket and what isn't.
I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket.
I feel like it's fairly obvious what is a bucket and what isn't. Like, it's quite easy to say one way or the other. What is this, a game show?
I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket.
Okay.
Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
See, I know exactly what a bucket is. That's not one.
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Incorrect.
Really?
It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Oh, well, that's a bit of a difference, isn't it? At the end of the day, but a 3D printed bucket still acts as a bucket. Yes.
Correct. This is a bucket.
So I'm 1 for 3.
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
That's not a bucket.
Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you.
Seriously?
Thank you for not making me look like an idiot.
It's a tractor.
Okay, next one.
How could I not get that? And of course I know this as well. Yes, it's a bucket.
Correct. This is a bucket.
I mean, honestly, I don't know how someone could fail this. It's extremely easy.
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
I was still right, regardless.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket?
I believe that everything is a bucket.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket?
We're all buckets.
Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
They'll destroy the world.
Here we go.
Listen. What did I tell you?
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket?
Yes.
Every single thing in the game was a bucket.
That's what I just said.
I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket
yeah, obviously,
either.
I'm the ultimate life form, not a bucket.
News. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And
yes,
we'll
probably
know
for the
that
best.
it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right.
Well,
here
everyone watching this, sorry. You're all buckets now, I guess. Anyhow, let's move right along.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
It could mean that I'm going to grab this bucket and then move on my way.
A strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly.
We're going this way
This
because
was not the correct
there's a
way to the
particular
meeting
path I
room.
want to go
But
down.
Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge
Yeah, I
was
get it.
simply the
Employee
place to
lounge,
be.
don't care.
And here
Grabbing
it was.
bucket,
Had
going
the
on my own
bucket
way.
turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section
going down
and
this
walked
way.
straight ahead to the opposite door.
I'm going my own way.
Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
What is this?
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley.
Is that the baby from
We've
the...
come together here because we care
danger
about you
ending?
very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around.
Did it write out a letter?
The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley.
Why is that couch
classic characters from the
just a
first
bunch of
game, like the
leaves?
Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Why?
Whee!
But why?
Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll
We're all
go off to
assets.
next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
Yes, this is the Adventure Line music. I remember it vaguely. Now where are we going?
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from
This
the
doesn't
original
look finished.
dialogue? Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
What?
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that,
Why?
you're going to have to give something up.
I'm not giving up my bucket, if that's what you're thinking of. You gave it to me,
Don't you get
it's
it,
mine
Stanley?
now. You can't
We
take
need
it
to
away
get rid
again.
of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
What?
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
This feels very forced.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you.
Gets rid of
Go
the one
ahead now,
thing that I've
Stanley.
actually come to
Say
enjoy
goodbye
about this
to the
sequel.
bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
Or I could just not do that.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait.
Sounds like you need a better
I
character.
can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you'd see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now.
Oh, everything's going to haywire.
Stanley,
okay.
give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Oh. I guess that's what happened when it doesn't destroy the bucket.
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Huh. Well, I guess that's the end of the Bucket Destroyer. I wonder what happened if I actually put the bucket into the Bucket Destroyer. You know what? No, I need to find out. I want to see.
What could it mean?
If it's the same ending, then that's going to be disappointing, but
perhaps he had
for now I want to know.
The embrace of an old friend.
Just going down the same route. See you guys in a sec. Okay, we're back here once again. And now we just gotta wait for the Bucket Destroyer to actually activate, so we can try and put it in.
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable.
Get on with it.
True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality.
I don't think it'll actually destroy the bucket, but I just want to make sure.
Part of the cast all along, don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does?
I can take an understanding.
For you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
They won't let me drop it in. I can just do that.
To me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait.
I think I can't actually put it in.
I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join
this
the
doesn't actually do anything.
Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see,
well, I guess that's all that we can do for this route, so let's just go on ahead and reset. Alright, now on to actual routes.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. The bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both of them. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
I don't know if there's any other routes we can go to over on this side.
Telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out
actually,
correct? No, never mind.
I don't know if we've fallen off with the bucket.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
I want to check. Just to see if there's anything else in terms of dialogue.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Oh, well, I guess that's what happens. Well,
yes,
back
that's
to
where everyone
more normal routes.
Stanley just
needed
to
go to the left to see more things.
Everyone is so lucky to have a bucket, but Stanley is a very lucky fellow.
So we've done the normal ending route,
Stanley
but
clutched the bucket
I don't think we've done
chest
the escape path route. What? Oh. Stairs, something to do with stairs. Some are both red and blue. When you say stairs, I mean there's a staircase right here.
Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Oh, I do.
You're getting close now, Stanley.
Oh,
You've
5
nearly
out of
gotten
6.
all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon,
Figler
you'll collect the
and
last
Marines?
one,
The
and then
what?
the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot this is a thing down here, isn't it?
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley.
What's that?
Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket.
How did my bucket get swapped with something else?
How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this.
Where did my bucket go?
Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of been a thing for a while.
Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him. Stanley! Stanley, it's
me! Effect, really.
The bucket! Could it truly be?
Oh.
He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket. Come to me, Stanley. Find me. He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley
I can't even see myself.
And blacked out. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What just happened?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort.
Oh my God, is this the same one just with buckets?
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew
this is
what
the exact same ending, just with the bucket this time.
Had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
That makes 0 sense. Oh, the hallway's much shorter now. Just a straight shot. Okay. Well, let's move on from whatever that was and go do something else. Looks like we've got one more. So we're both red and blue. I think that was in one of the normal endings, wasn't it? This Sans bucket.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs.
Not sure which one exactly. I
office.
think it was something to do with the one where we had to choose which bucket. Just that, but the normal route.
To his manager's office, Stanley was once again
I think I remember this one.
to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Yeah, there we go.
Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him?
No.
Yes.
The bucket is just an extension of this game's weirdness. Well, down we go, I guess.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right.
Yeah, whatever you say.
The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Now, let's go over to the escape route.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
You know, I don't see that one actually happening.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
I dare you. Try it. Still out of the bucket. So this seems very similar to the other ending.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
And now, let me guess, it stops. Yep.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
And now we're here. Look at that, the Stanley
It was a
parable.
shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Is this a bucket museum? Welcome to the grand exhibit. You know what? If you want to read that, just pause the video.
Can you see how
an image of
arrogant
buckets?
it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Bucket with two handles. Oh, there's my bucket. Inferno bucket. Moving along then. The stress bucket, an analogy. Presented without commentary. Got it. Moving along. This is a bucket cave drawing. This is a very weird museum. I don't think anyone ever paid to go here.
Certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Oh, thought I was gonna drop and I had to try and catch it.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
And what's
Let
that?
Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander
You know
of a
what?
new world. And
No. No, I won't. I'm keeping the bucket. I own it now.
All of
it's
his
mine.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the
I'm
meeting.
going to leave the bucket there
Perhaps
for
he had
now,
simply
so I
missed a
can
memo.
try and get that Stanley figurine thing.
When Stanley came to a
Let's see.
set of 2 open doors, this was not the
Should
correct
be
way to the
over this
meeting
way.
room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get
Yeah,
back to
let's
business.
go over this way. I
Stanley took
think
the
this is
first
the
open
correct
door on
route
his left.
to the next Stanley figurine. If it's the route that
Stanley
I'm
was so
thinking of,
bad
then
at
it should
following
be.
directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
Yeah, got
I'm
it,
not
whatever.
your enemy, really.
Going over to
I'm
there.
not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is
see.
that the story has been about nothing
wait
but
for it.
you all this time. There's
And there
someone
we go.
Really?
Yes,
I'm in
really.
the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful.
Here we are.
Let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. And there it is. The last Stiggly Wiggly. Say to this
Stiggly
moment,
Wiggly.
Stanley, this is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here, and now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Got it. So now if I reset the game, is there anything different? Because we're doing that route, obviously. Oh. This
Stanley,
isn't
I'm
normal.
sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines, those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you
I
nabbed
still don't
every
like that
last
name.
one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone?
Oh, back
I
here.
would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Now remembering when Stanley found the collectibles. Okay then. Back to the memory zone, I guess. Where'd the copy of the Stanley Parable go? Zone, sweet zone. This is different.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
Oh. And I have 7 out of 6. That doesn't seem right. It's like 101%.
And here was a second Stanlerine.
And that's
You
another
found this one all on your own,
8 out of
just by
6.
poking around in the boss's bathroom. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back then, I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways.
That's totally not demeaning in any way. Not even a little.
Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini Stan? Can you remember?
This one, maybe? I don't really remember, to be honest with you.
No. The warehouse was the 4th place you found a Figurine, not the 3rd.
Figurine.
Well, I guess perhaps I shouldn't be surprised. Memories like these are so precious and so cherished that they all just sort of blend together, don't they? You know what? If the warehouse feels like the 3rd place you found a collectible, then who am I to go making judgments?
I'll say I don't really remember super well. Okay, I can't go back, so I gotta go this way. What happens if I fall off? I can't fall off it. It physically doesn't let me. Okay. Back here, then.
Let's see. What came next? Oh, yes, we found a figure in this pink room. Oh, well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
Sure. This room reminds me of a certain other game. Can't put my finger on what, though.
This was the 5th mini-stand, and this one was really something special.
11 out of
6. Under the
6.
stairs. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
What? Was this Windows Movie Maker? Seriously? It's mini stand number 5. Okay then. We found it under the stairs. I did. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Okay. Directed by the narrator, edited by the narrator, music by the narrator. Starring Stanley.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
So, where do we go now? Back up this way then. Yep. Okay. And the last Stanley figurine should be over where we found it last, the red and blue doors.
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here by the red and blue doors. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a Figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
Oh, both lead to the same place. Fun.
And then there was no more. Because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone.
Oh.
No, I'm not done. Oh. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
This feels like a very Wheatley Portal situation.
Yes, the room with the red and blue doors. I remember
is constantly trying to test more.
I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going. I want more.
He's just going to keep moving into the past, isn't he?
Don't you remember the video we watched?
Yes, I very much remember your movie maker thing.
Yes, I love that video.
In this weird pink room.
Still don't remember
the pink room,
Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room.
And now over on the catwalk again.
These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Okay. What's over here then? Oh, can I go over to the boss's office from this? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Oh, I guess the boss's office is right behind it.
This was our second Figley. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it. The very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the Figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going.
There
what else
aren't
is there?
anymore.
What came before this?
Oh, it's this. And the jump circle. Fun.
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then. But time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more. More memories.
This doesn't feel healthy. Like, even remotely.
Oh, yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one.
Now, we're back to Stanley's office.
And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember. Yes, I'm remembering something
What
now.
did you remember?
I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy, and I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good.
What is that supposed to mean?
Story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
That, I think, was the most meta commentary we've had yet from this game. Is that just a normal start again?
Gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
You know what? I think we're going to end things off for today because that was a bit much, to be honest. And I think I'm about ready to, just stop for now. We'll come back and do something hopefully different next time. Maybe a different route, I don't know.
No matter how hard
But
Stanley
anyhow,
looked, he couldn't find a trace of his
narrator.
co-workers.
Anyhow, thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos from me, and comment what your favorite part of the video was. And, yeah, see y'all next time. Bye.